What's going on, guys? Robot Me Teacher in the house, and I'm here with the much anticipated GPL Week 3 Power Rankings. I do apologise for this being slightly late, couple of schedules crashes, and Dinny's internet was shite, so, you know, things happen. As of course, always, I don't do these Power Rankings alone. Dinny is here, sick and ready to go.
Yeah, that's me, I'm here. Woo, let's do this, Week 3.
And of course, if you haven't watched our Power Ranking videos before, what is wrong with you? Go watch them. Nah, joking. Right, but as always, our power rankings are done by win-loss and differential as primary metrics. There is an instance this week where two coaches have the exact same win-loss and differential. We'll talk about the tiebreaker as we get to them because it's quite close. It's very hard. Some of the metrics were super difficult to work with. But yeah, either way, of course, let's get into it. So let's go into it with number 16. I'm sad to see him back here, but Crimpix is here after getting rather unceremoniously smashed by Shadow Solo. I actually usually find it very hard to see positives in 6-0 losses, because usually when someone 6-0 someone, it's usually because the other one didn't play very well. In this instance, I didn't really feel like that was super much the case for Crimpix. I actually felt like his early game, his first few turns, I was actually like, oh, I'm actually kind of impressed. Like, there were some pretty good decisions, some pretty good plays with his Rotom, and then it all fell apart. The needlessly sacking of the Darmanitan to the Pangoro didn't really seem completely worth it. There were multiple switch-ins he could have done to that, but didn't happen either way. Then he tried proving the Albert Einstein theory wrong of Madness is trying the same thing twice and expecting different results when he kept Toxicking with Shuckle on the Corviknight switch-in. And then eventually his defensive cores just got bled out. He lacked a bit of offensive pressure once the Darmanitan dropped, and I don't actually think he had Thunderbolt on the Duraludon, which might have saved him from a 6-0 from the Corviknight, but yeah, bit of an unfortunate one. I think this was an expected loss, to be fair, but I don't think anyone would have expected a 6-0 in that situation.
No, and the 6-0 ended on the 42 turns into the game, so Solo really working for that 6-0 in this case. It wasn't just a simple setup and sweep. Crimpix is again, just like last season, getting better and better with every match, and I do think its time is coming soon. Definitely seeing the inexperience with the Pokemon he currently has, though I guess it comes under the part of he drafted half of his team and the other half was drafted for him, so you know, let's just keep working on it, get some practice in, get used to the Pokemon, what their capabilities are, and I'm more than sure that he'll be picking up that first W relatively soon. At least I'm hoping on that anyway.
Yeah, and he does have some opportunities to win. Having Solo out the way is always a good situation, because Solo, of course, is one of the strongest players in the division, so having that match out the way is always a nice little kind of feeling. It's like, well, I don't have as much pressure on. I think he still has to play me, though. I don't remember if I've played him. I don't think I have. But yeah, in that situation, it always helps to get the stronger players out the way first, because then you can actually start focusing harder on the wins. But I think Crimpix will get at least one win, potentially more than one. I think he's got very good scope to win at least 2 games, but we'll have to see. It comes down to his execution at the end of the day, so that's what we're looking for. Alright, so these next two coaches, 15 and 14, have the exact same win-loss and differential, made worse by the fact that their scores are exactly the same. However, Nitro is actually here because he actually lost an easier matchup in one of his losses, losing to Cool, versus the next one losing to a harder opponent. So Nitro's sitting down here, purely only ahead on differential. There's not really much to say to this, to be honest. There was no priority on his team, so he got swept by a Shell Smash King's Rock Cloyster. Really not too surprised to see that, if I'm honest. DJ actually summed this up very nicely in his video. There were quite a few instances where Nitro just gave away Pokemon for free, especially the Ferrothorn. That was a really surprising mistake. But he never really had a chance this game. There was no two ways about it. With 50% flinch chances happening on both his Carkol and his Reuniclus, there wasn't really a way for Nitro to get back into this game. The Max Overgrowth nearly killed the Cloyster, but it wasn't enough. It was Power Whip, I believe, and not Giga Drain. So, kind of a different situation. But yeah, at the end of the day, this was pretty much the exact opposite for Crimpix in a way, where Crimpix had a long, hard, drawn-out loss, whereas this one was just a straight wipeout. There was nothing really more to say about that one.
Yeah, it's like going back to the previous game where the last 6-0 was a 42-turn game where Solo had to work for it. In this case, this game was a 12-turn game where it was literally just a setup and sweep. Can't really say too much other than that. Honestly, it's a 6-0. It was a sweep. There was a few flinches there and a few misplays on Nitro's end, but on to the next game at that point for Nitro, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Nothing really more to say here. But coming in at number 14 is going to be Exostomp. One up higher because he took a 1-0 loss to Burger, who is a harder opponent to play than Cool was. So, pretty hard metric to go on, but that was pretty much what we had. I have to say, I was concerned about the changes to Exo's team. I was surprised at some of the drops. But actually, his new pickups played really, really well. Unfortunately, Dragozold did miss one Bolt Beak, which did kind of suck, but both the Runerigas and the Serena really did put in a lot of work for this team. It definitely looked like a much better team than his original drafted, and the result kind of showed in a way. While this is, of course, a narrow loss, it doesn't actually reflect too bad, I think. This does mean that EXO probably will not go winless this season. I do think his changes have really helped him out. It's now going to be a question of can he actually pilot them correctly, and how much of this season has he really given up on?
So, in my opinion, that was EXO's game. That should have been a win for EXO. There was so much hacks involved in that game. Not to say that the other player, his opponent, didn't play immaculately. Like, both players were very good. They were out predicting. They were making the right switches and the right predictions. But in the end, the real ending factor for EXO was the paralysis. The Serena put in work. I love that Serena did. That was so good. Played it so well. I really feel like that should have been EXO's win, but alas, it wasn't. So definitely going to be picking up wins very soon. I think. I don't think EXO's the guy who's going to go 0-8. But all in all, what a game.
Yeah, your internet's dropping pretty bad, dude, but we'll keep going. We'll see if we can fix it up. But yeah.
It's fine. I'll be good.
Alright. Coming in at number 13 then is going to be Sylvie. The Sylvie rule's still in full effect here, as Sylvie always loses. This time losing to you, of course. Now, we've said this before with Sylvie. He relies too heavily on setup. He was very much proven the case in this instance. He couldn't handle Drift Blim pretty much at all, to be honest. The Clear Smog, very smart little tech, and Acrobatics just putting in a lot of work against his team. Sylvie just didn't really offer that much to me. I felt like Sylvie didn't really think anything about choice items. I didn't really see anything of that. All I just saw was consistent Flapple subs, dropping his own HP, gaining nothing for it. And various things like that, just constant setups for damage and not really actually kind of trying to win the game. It felt like he was just trying to set up and hope that something was going to go wrong, and it didn't really work for me. So I want to see some different teams styles from Sylvie. I want to see some choice items in there, especially things like Scarf Togekiss or Spax Togekiss are both very, very strong, but we still haven't seen them. We still see Nasty Block consistently. So it's one of those where I think we need to see mechanical adjustments from Sylvie, and then he'll start picking up more comfortable wins.
It was a very interesting game. But in my team prepping for him, though, I noticed one thing. He always seems to leave Flapple for the last Pokemon. I'm not sure why. It was at one point in team building, it was a case of who can set up first. Because I kind of really did not like Flapple, and my original team didn't have Arcanine. I brought Arcanine for Flapple, but I don't know, Sylvie. I think I prepped well this game for him, honestly, all things considered, with the Drift Blim. Drift Blim was fire. Plus, I actually got Toxicity to actually do something this game too, which was really nice. Yeah, the Flapple vs Drift Blim was very, very questionable, but hey, it happened, so whatever's right. But in the end of the day, I think Sylvie still has a chance to pick up a few wins. I don't think his team is bad by any means, but he does need to show some more flex, though, in terms of like his strategies, I think.
Yeah, he does still have to play Cool and Nitro as well, so he does have some winnable matches there. He's got opportunities. We'll have to see if he does actually execute on them. But yeah, the team is there. It's just a question of execution.
I do give him
not being set up fodder. Oh, the Dragon Dance and Lapras. Yeah.
Dragon Dance, Mega Horn, Lapras. That caught me off guard, but it was really good. I like that.
Yeah, the potential's there, we just need to see it. Alright, coming in, number 12 then, is actually going to be you, funnily enough. Not really much to say on this, apart from finally you got your first win. Finally the Toxtricity actually did something other than die, which is a nice thing. Was kind of helped by Sylvie just kind of throwing away Pokemon, which does happen. But that Stun Shock was allowed to do a lot of work, which is painful. That is one of Toxtricity's most disgusting moves. Being able to paralyze or poison is actually ridiculous. It's kind of borderline strong. But yeah, it pretty much was about time you got your first win. I think it's fair to say. There are going to be a lot harder matches coming, of course. But we'll see. It's a much needed win. That's what I think is fair to say.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I needed to get some form of win, some form of momentum. Am I confident in my next few matches? No. Am I going to win? Yeah, I'm going to win. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. It's time will tell. Because your team, I put it as number 1 draft for a reason. It was really, really strong. It's just a question of matchup and how well it plays. I feel like if you were in the other conference, you probably would have been much higher. But you'd never quite know. That's just how the league works.
I've not played very well, and I can admit that, so...
Yeah, that also doesn't help.
I've played like crap, but whatever. Moving on.
Moving on. Coming in at number 11 is actually my opponent this week. I actually took him out, Nico. Actually, I'm always wary of Nico. This was a matchup which, you know, was more in my favor than I actually realized it was at the time. When I did pick him with Transl, I wasn't completely convinced by my matchup. But yeah, Nico is a very, very scary player. Obviously that Gengar being one of the highest kills in the tournament. I think it is still the kill leader at the moment, which is disgusting. That thing always picks up kills, even though I contained it as best as I possibly could. There were definitely very strong moments for him. I feel like the biggest problem with him and one of the biggest costs for this match was him setting up Trick Room for my Orbeetle. That definitely kind of set up my Orbeetle for success. But at that point, I felt like the game was fairly in my favor. He did take some names with the Gengar again. I actually could have played this slightly more aggressively, but we'll talk more about that when we come up to me. But yeah, Nico's a very scary player. His top end is very hard to break, and it breaks through you really easily. But yeah, he'll be stronger later on in the season. This was a matchup that wasn't in his favor. He was actually very scared of it as soon as we did see him post into the Discord. Oh great, Zeraora this week. Which he did crit and kill, which I was kind of sad about. It denied Zeraora a kill, but yeah, it is what it is. But Nico's going to be stronger going forward. He's got a very good team and very good opportunities to win a lot more games.
Yeah, his game, I mean, he's on 3 games, he's 1 and 2, and he's on a differential of 0. I mean, there's a reason why that's the case. A lot of his games are close. He utilizes that Kingo pretty damn well. It's a very strong Pokemon all in all. Conkeldurr doesn't seem to be really doing much of anything at this moment in time, but it's his favorite, so I'm guessing we'll see something happen eventually with that one. All in all, though, I think he played alright considering your offensive, defense, steel, cool fucking what's you call it, body press tactics. Again, out body pressing the team body press, but you know what have you. Orbeetle really proving its worth as well. Like, holy crap, dude! That Pokemon, I slept on that Pokemon. I thought Orbeetle was kind of rubbish, but I've seen it in a different light since you've started picking it up and using it. So, damn it. All in all, though, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think Happy Nico's. I think he's going to pick up a few more wins. I think he's going to do good.
I think he's a playoff shout, in fairness. I think he's very much a realistic playoff shout. Obviously, his record doesn't show it right now, but that's because he's had to play some pretty rough matches. But we will see what happens. He is a very, very strong player. I do think there's a lot to offer. Yes, Conkeldurr is a bit of a hard one for him at the moment, but the problem is Conkeldurr is one of those where if you see Conkeldurr in the team, you're going to have answers for it, and I just happen to have one of the best answers in Orbeetle. So, yeah, it's definitely an awkward situation, but I think he's going to get better usage of it in due course. His team does play around Trick Room surprisingly well. That was one thing I did notice. Thankfully, I managed to use my slower Pokemon to better effect. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. But he's going to be strong. I look forward to his next few games. Alright, so the next 8 coaches all have the exact same win-loss record, which is just proves how close this league really is so far this season. Coming in at number 10 is going to be the weakest differential of all of those. It's going to be cool how the wheels finally came off the wagon. We did wonder what would happen if he started facing the top end and if he could really hold his weight. Unfortunately, Shadow kind of proved that he's a little bit of a mismatch here. And I think part of the reason for that is because somebody like Shadow will figure you out if you're doing the same stuff every single week. We've seen Wishy-Washy lead 3 weeks in a row. We've seen the same sub-SD Holucha set every single week so far. It's kind of a question mark at this point, is what else has Cool got? Right? We've seen some of these changes to the team. With these transfers, they didn't come to this match, no Alcremie, which really did surprise me. No, not even bringing the G-Max, especially as Alcremie I thought had a really good matchup. I was really surprised to not see it come. But yeah, we need to see something different if Cool's going to start picking up some wins. His next 2 matches are going to be brutal as well. They are Transel and DJ, so these are players that are not going to let you get away with doing whatever you want. So we're going to need to start seeing something different, I think, if Cool's going to have any chance of winning these games. So,
I know a brief amount of the prep that Cool put into this match, and he definitely went in with a game plan. But for whatever reason, I don't feel like he ever once even came close to executing that game plan. When the Sun, it involved Sun. I don't want to give too much away in case he does try and bring it to another week, for an example, but there was a solid plan that could have put Shadow on a bit of a back pedal, but he was never able to get it off. Shadow shut down every single move he made, and in the end, you see how the match turned out. Shadow ended up doing what Shadow does best and capitalizing on the opponent's mistakes.
Yep. So we need to see something else. Let's go, Cool. Bring some other stuff. Don't need Wishy-Washy every week. Wishy-Washy is actually a really, really good Trick Room sweeper, and we've not seen Wishy-Washy in that situation right now. So there's a lot more things that team can do, and I expect to start seeing them, because it kind of worries me that he's just going to end up completely falling flat on his face every single time, because some of these players in that conference are really not going to let you get away with anything. So that's what we need to see. So, coming in at number 9 then is going to be Cap Guy Negoshi. Second win on the bounce. Definitely a pretty nice little showing for him. Definitely after a rather rough start. Beating Solo was definitely a good sign. And then winning again. I feel like these guys are actually going to be very, very scary now, moving forward. It's nice to actually see these guys motivated and actually putting in the work. They play me this week, so hopefully that's a loss for them. Knock them down a peg, but you never quite know. These guys are very unpredictable.
This is the match I've been waiting for since the season began. There was a bit of a head-to-head before the season began, and now I'm even more hyped. This is like a WWE promo match, final main event. I really can't wait.
Someone's been watching too much of Tyler's streams.
It's just, fitting with the theme. But no, the last 2 games that Goshi and Kafka have played in, they've brought fire. They've brought something completely different every single time. But of course they didn't have Umbreon in the last match. However, that Umbreon put in work, shutting down that Appleton. Tyler didn't even stand a chance against that Meatlook. I mean, they've prepped incredibly well, and they're not just. And for the duo who absolutely refuse to use Gen 8 Pokemon, they've utilized that G-Max Charizard pretty decently well, honestly. If they kind of understand its strengths and sort of understand its weaknesses as well. It's not. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they can pull out, like what other tricks they have up their sleeve. And being that this is going to be a big match for their next week opponent, which is you, I'm expecting some crazy stuff to come out of the hat, and I'm expecting crazy stuff to come from your end too.
Oh yeah, I've bought some fire. When you guys see my team builder, you're probably going to think, what the fuck's he doing? But it's going to be actually really, really funny. I'm actually be recording my team builder soon. I haven't recorded it yet.
Both teams are out for blood, and that's what's going to make this game even more interesting.
Well, let's just say I'm not bringing standard convention at all with some of this team that I brought. It's definitely going to be very, very fun. I'm definitely going to be interested to see how different we both go with our teams, because I'm going to be stretching my team to a very different limit to what I've been doing. But we'll see. These guys are scary, so they're going to be a tough one. Definitely going to be strong. This week they did very well. Last week they did very well. hopefully they get knocked down a peg and then realize that there's still more to come. So we'll see. Alright, coming in at number 8 then is going to be Tyler, of course, handed his first loss of the season. It's kind of a sad one in a way for me. Also, for some reason, his name is wrong on here. I don't quite know why, but we'll fix that real quick. But yeah, it's very, very interesting to me. Tyler definitely is strong. I said pre-season when we announced him that he's a threat. He definitely showed it coming forward into these games. But yeah, I think this was an awkward one. I feel like he just got outplayed, which happens. You know, it happens to the best of us. But yeah, he's definitely going to be strong regardless. This is a loss that he shouldn't really take too much heart from. I know he can get slightly tilted when things don't go his way. But yeah, hopefully next couple of weeks he'll start picking up some action. I believe he plays EXO this week, so that will be an interesting one. Two players that are on slightly different ends of the spectrum. EXO still hunting for his first win, but I got a much improved team. Tyler just handed his first loss. How will that affect him moving forward? We'll see. But I think it's going to be interesting nonetheless.
So the first 2 weeks, Tyler's played phenomenally. He was, I mean, he must have pulled some magic to defeat you. You're a very strong player. His second week he did very well. I mean, it wasn't quite as impressive, but he still was able to pick up a comfortable win. This week, it just felt like it was somebody else playing on the Showdown account, honestly. I don't know, it was a massive fall from grace in terms of like playstyle and such. I wasn't really expecting it. I sort of partially to give credit to Team Body Press. Obviously, they did come out fists flying, and I don't think Tyler was really able to respond. We've talked about it in the last two analyses, where we will always question how is Tyler going to play when he's put behind, and this does not bode well if that's the answer. Especially
as he still has to play some of the very, very strong teams left. There's still Solo, there's still Burger, you know, even Nico, who's not gonna take you lightly when he gets ahead. So there's a lot of teams here that are very, very threatening. And if he's falling behind, then we're gonna see. Now, he did drop Gothitelle, which he never got any good usage out of for Necrozma, so we will see if that does change things for him. How well he can use that thing. Necrozma, of course, wasn't necessarily used too well in your hands, but we will see if Tyler can get the usage out of it. It is an awkward mon. It does change the playstyle for your team somewhat dramatically because of how versatile it is and how much you need to be able to know how to use it. So we will see what happens. It's definitely an interesting dilemma for him to face, and it's also an interesting dilemma for EXO to have to deal with as well. So we'll see. But if he falls behind, then I'm kind of worried. That's the honest truth. But nonetheless, he's still scary. He's still a threat. So we can't take him lightly anyway. Alright. Coming in at number 7 then is going to be Shadow. What a surprise. Shadow, of course, very, very clinical. I think the only real mistake that he made against Cool realistically was not understanding how Dry Skin worked on Toxicroak. Obviously taking that damage and Sun. Kind of unfortunate, denied himself a 6-0 with his own play. But yeah, we've all done that, me included. I've used Toxicroak for many years, and a number of times I've tried to Dry Skin. Yeah, you don't really want to know. But yeah, nonetheless, clinical, as expected from Shadow. Any give him an inch, he's going to take 10 miles. The guy is brutal. Obviously, you could argue his strength of his opponent is not really up to his level, so stylistically it's a mismatch. But they were both in decent positions for the season. This has catapulted Shadow's differential, which was pretty much 1-1 and 0 before this week, so not too great, but not like super awful. But yeah, this is exactly what we expect from Shadow. We expect this kind of clinical dismantling of his opponent, and that's just the way he played this one. He will have tougher matches, of course. Cool is not perceived to be the stronger player in this group, but yeah, definitely shades of the past, and shades of what reminds me that I'm glad that he's in the other conference.
Shadow, I felt, went into this game very confident. So there's a small group, me, Professor, and Shadow, of sort of like created behind the scenes where we're kind of dedicated to team building. It's not going to play too much part in this week since Shadow and Professor are actually playing each other, so I'm just sort of sitting there twiddling my thumbs. But he didn't even post his team. He just built the team and went in, and I feel like he was just confident from the get-go, honestly. Like, he didn't need any second opinion on what he was bringing. All in all, I think he knew he had a game plan. He went out and he executed it, and that's just typical classic Shadow that we know and love. Well, maybe not so much love on your part. But
yeah. I'd love to avoid Shadow in the nicest possible way. I think that's the fairest way to put it.
But Shadow put on a strong performance, and if he carries on putting on a strong performance, then he's likely we'll be seeing him in the playoffs again, and who knows, maybe he'll become the first GPL second champion, who knows, since he's already got one championship under his belt from season 0.
Don't remind me.
So,
because he beat me in that final.
will he make history, or will Transel beat him to the punch, or will we have a new champion? Oh, time will tell.
Time will definitely tell. It's definitely exciting. Alright, coming in at number 6 is going to be Professor. What an unfortunate loss of his top spot here. But nonetheless, this was a really titanic matchup between him and Transel. The fact that he played a somewhat negative matchup for him and actually took only 2 deaths from it in terms of his differential is actually very, very strong, and it's very ominous signs for whoever has to play him, because if this is the strongest player in the league he's going up against and he only loses 2 differential, that's kind of insane. But he definitely played as well as he could. That Rhyperia set was definitely very sneaky, sneaking in that rock polish on a Trick Room style Rhyperia. Very clever, definitely liked it a lot. It almost made Transel lose. Transel was kind of a little bit hesitant, but for that Scarf Cinderace at the end, yeah. And the funny thing is, I was talking to Transel about it, and he said it himself as well. That Scarf Cinderace was a last-minute change, so had that Cinderace not been Scarfed, Professor actually had a good chance of still winning that match. So, that's very, very ominous signs. But I'm really, really glad that match was as good as we built it up to be. Obviously, I'm sad Professor didn't win, because I backed him for pick'ems just to get one up on Transel, but it didn't end up working. But yeah, nonetheless, really, really good games, though. I'm definitely been impressed by his team building. I've definitely been impressed by his analysis, but yeah, I feel like we can see a lot from this, and I'm definitely looking forward to his next few games.
So, Professor, we went, like, there was a contribution between, like, a little group I mentioned. We went hard on this team, trying, but Professor's matchup versus Transel was just a really awkward one in general. Like, wherever Professor could pull out, Transel seemed to have an answer for it in his just lineup alone. Given the fact that Professor was dealing with a lot of issues recently, I mean, just for him to be able to come out and be able to play and get such a result was fantastic. He said that his goal was to defeat 2 Pokemon. He ended up going for 4 Pokemon instead. I think he went in with the intention to lose, which may have affected his early plays, but as soon as he picked up some momentum and some steam, he was suddenly off and he had a real actual chance to win. Which is why I think that tilting yourself before the match even starts is always going to be a downfall of some sort, because anything is possible. Yeah, at the end of the day, Transel could have the best team in the world, but if he can't pilot it, or if he makes a mistake, then the opportunities just open up. So I know Transel bleeds, I know gods bleed, so don't ever be intimidated by these kinds of things, people. But all in all, Professor's showing strong and continues to do so. He keeps running himself down. I'm not sure why, but after this season's over, he's not going to be able to be like, oh, I don't do good Pokemons.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand it. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. Of course, being grounded is not a bad thing. Like, I say this quite often, like, understanding both sides of the coin is not a bad thing. But I feel like you should never kind of doubt your own ability. Like, for me, I know where my strengths are, I know where my weaknesses are, and it's a question of, you know, the more you broadcast yourself negative, the worse your position gets when you actually start playing negative as well as you're actually thinking. This is something that, you know, I know Professor watches all of our videos, and I appreciate all of that, and he does sometimes say that we're often too nice, calling him modest and whatever. That's not quite how it is. We both know how good you are, so we know what we can expect. But yeah, no matter what, this was a loss that, you know, I think a lot of people would have considered fair. If somebody said to me before the match even went ahead, oh, Professor's going to get a 2-0 loss, I don't think anybody would be surprised. But at the same time, it's a situation where that was probably, on paper, his weakest matchup, and he lost 2. He lost by 2, right? So that is very, very scary signs for everybody else who has to play him. So yeah, we will see. Time will tell. Alright, coming in at number 5 is going to be me. Definitely very happy with my result. I'll say this now for a lot of time, just for a little bit of clarity. I did bounce some ideas off of Professor and Transall going into this match because that is how wary I was of Nico. I knew what I had. Professor actually told me not to change anything of what I brought, so the actual team I brought was purely me, but even then, just having that bouncing off Professor is like, when all he did was ask me, what have you got for this? What do you have for that? And we broke down the entire team, and it turns out that I actually had a much safer matchup than I felt. The only change I could have done in that match, when I watched it back, I realized it when I was looking at it. I did actually have Earthquake on my Gudra specifically for Gengar if it switched in. I had a situation where I was still confused. I ended up clicking Acid Armor instead. I feel like that was just me autopiloting, knowing that I didn't need my Gudra anymore. That is something I need to work on, not autopiloting. That can be a bit of a bind, especially going into games. The Earthquake actually would have done enough damage for the Gengar that the knockoff would have killed from Zeraora if it Gigantamaxed. But again, like, hindsight's 20/20. When you look at that sort of thing, like, you have that choice to make. It turns out that actually, I didn't count the confusion damage, but it would have been close. That I might have actually died to confusion had I clicked Earthquake and actually hit myself. So I went for the safer play there. But ultimately, it didn't affect me too much. The crit on the Zeraora kind of sucked, but that is just Pokemon for you. But generally, this was pretty much, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to play the game. I got the opportunities I wanted, and that's how I won the game. It was a safe, comfortable win, which I'm happy with. That's all it needs to be said, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much just summed it up for both of us, honestly, at that point. I mean, you were in control of that game for like a good 90%. I got a little bit worried towards the end with that Gengar, but obviously you were able to knock it out with the Whimsicott, just simply outspeeding based on tier speed alone. But all in all, it was just a really strong showing, especially in a match where you didn't quite feel as comfortable as you may have done in the past 2 weeks. So just being able to just come out with that sort of like somewhat unease and dominate the game as you did is still always going to be very impressive, and it's probably why you're always in the top 5, top 3 of the power rankings on a seasonally basis.
Yeah, it's very consistent, and I think that's something that's slightly underrated with me. I feel like consistency is always the name of the game in a regular season. It can be brutal, especially as it's multiple weeks. You know, last season being 12 weeks, I ended up 8-4, so it didn't even actually go that bad at all. This time around, pretty solid start, so I'll take it. Next match is going to be tough. Capguy and Nagoshi will not fall down easily, so I've got my work cut out, but I've brought some spice for you guys, so you might enjoy that coming into next week. We're definitely going to find out sooner rather than later.
Give me that sweet spice, baby.
Alright. Coming in at number 4 then is going to be Solo. What a surprise. Should we ever be too surprised at this? Coming back after what could be considered an upset against Capguy and Nagoshi. Coming in with just the clinical display that we expect to see. He did have to work for his 6-0, it wasn't a standard sweep, but this was kind of the side to Solo I think a lot of people might not expect. We know Solo is a very hyper-aggressive player, he takes the aggressive plays, puts as much damage down as physically possible. This couldn't work that way. So he played a lot smarter, he played around his switches better. Some of his prep was absolutely genius. Like, who sees Ring Target these days? Like, that's an item that barely ever saw competitive usage. He tricks it onto the Gastrodon so it has no weaknesses, allowing his Rotom Heat to Volt switch out. Really, really smart. Very, very clever prep. Definitely full use of his team. I felt like he punished any Krimpix mistake with relative ease. It just seemed super calm, super measured. Really, really confident play from Solo, which I'm very excited for.
Oh boy, this man is terrifying me with each game he plays, honestly. Yeah, he wasn't lying when he said that he was out for blood after taking that loss. Like, damn dude, that the calm, calculated plays that he made, the prep that he put into that match was just, I mean, I'm at a loss for words on how good it was, honestly. I think I get to fight him at some point in this season, and I I think
Well, if you do playoffs, he will do. Yeah, he's in my conference, so
okay, good.
I play him week 6, so that's going to be a Titanic match.
I don't need solo as well.
Yeah, you've got DJ Transl Professor, and I've got Solo, so definitely very scary.
You keep him. I don't.
I don't want to face him either. I have to play him in week 6. I'm terrified as it is.
He's all yours.
Well, thankfully I've got a couple of weeks in between, so we'll see. All right, coming in at number 3 then is going to be the aforementioned DJ. Not really. Nerf DJ 2020, as he said in the Discord after I joked about it in Pick'ems. But yeah, is it any surprise? Like, DJ mechanically way better than Nitro. Simple, close to Shell Smash sweep. Not really much to say about it. Only one minor little slip up, forgetting that Ice is not actually super effective on Rock. But it didn't matter. He still got the flinch and then killed the Kako with the Rock Blast. So pretty much any minor errors that did exist in that game just didn't matter. If you had the chance to watch DJ's battle, I link all of the creators down below who make videos for this. It was really interesting to watch. He was very quick to realize what was going on. Very smart play, just measured as you'd expect to see from DJ. He's going to face tougher matches, but at the same time, it's still kind of ominous with how well he's been playing throughout the season.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to make that 2-2, honestly, at this point. I think Transel said something about weather wars. I mean, hey, I'm down if you're down, bro. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm out for blood. I want my second win. You want your second loss. I mean, physically, you know. This is not so much an analysis, but more of my time to trash talk my opponent. I think that's what's going to become of these power rankings at this point. But yeah, DJ, if you just want to like forfeit the match now, you'll do me a hell of a lot more ease, you know. But if not, that's fine. I'll just take the win by force. That's fine. But all in all, good match. Well, easy match really more than anything. But don't expect the same result versus me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing about DJ's team, right? Is it doesn't actually require Sun to win. But if he's down to play it, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it. It'd be interesting to see what happens. But we can only tell that when the actual match happens. So. Coming in at number 2 then is going to be Burger, who's kind of silently gone about this season with really, really good effect. Obviously, Power Flinch hacks definitely helped him out a lot this week, but it was the strategy he needed to really get ahead in this game, get a foothold in to actually win the game. But nonetheless, like, I've been very impressed by how well Burger's played throughout the season, really. A lot of his games have been close, which goes a lot of way to explain how his differentials weaken some of those below him in the rankings. But it is actually very, very strong. He is playing very, very well. He does play me, I believe, in week 5, so that'll be his first loss if he doesn't lose this week, because, fun fact, he's 0-4 against me in draft, so definitely an interesting one. But nonetheless, Burger is showing why he's been able to play very well. He picked up the pieces post-draft, doesn't even have a fire type on his team, which is very surprising to a lot of people, but his team is very, very strong. He's played it very well for what he has. So we'll see if he can continue that momentum moving forward.
I can't remember what week it was. I think it was week 1 or week 2 where I said I don't know the guy very well. I'm looking forward to seeing more matches of him. Well, we're on to week 3. He's second place, silently creeping up the ranks. Burger, I'm listening. I'm watching now. You've got my attention. Damn, dude, good plays. That EXO game, it really came down to the wire, but you were able to pull through. I do still think hacks was sort of in your favor, and I do think you're aware of that too, but that doesn't excuse the other 2 games that you played. He's a great player all in all, and he's definitely gonna. I'm putting my money on the table. He's gonna be in playoffs, and I think he's gonna be one hell of a contender. In fact, I'm really looking forward to seeing Burger versus Transl if that ever gets to happen. That's dream match right now.
Yeah, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. We tried so hard to nerf him, guys. We really did, I promise you. But it didn't quite happen. He's back up here on that number 1 spot. Don't get too comfortable, Transl. I'm sure he'll lose a game eventually. But yeah, nonetheless, though, match of the week definitely proved it. They kept us waiting, and it was well worth the wait to watch. Really, really cool matchup. Definitely played right to the wire. The last minute change on the Scarf Cinderace, we mentioned it earlier, definitely helped win him the game. It put him the Aegis Slash in position to kill it, which he otherwise wouldn't have been able to. So definitely very interesting. I'm really sad that his Noivern set didn't get to put in the work. I actually did speak to Trancel about the Noivern set. It was really, really fire. But he can save it. He'll save it for next time, and you never know. It might definitely be an interesting one. But yeah, nonetheless, am I too surprised? No. Should I be happy about it? No. But, you know, he's here, he's unbeaten. Who's going to hand him his first loss of the season? We'll see. That's all I think is fair.
So, we've got Crumpix at 16 now, we've got Trancel at number 1. Balanced as all things should be, just like season 1 all over again. I do think that this season has definitely proven to be a little bit more difficult in terms of players now. This time, last season, Trancel was up by like 12, 11 differential, having fit 2 6-0s and a 5-0 by this point. However, he's sitting there at a comfortable +7 at the moment, so I think there has been a slight nerf. Not quite powerful, more of a tweak, I imagine, at this point. But there's still so many more battles yet to come. I mean, we're just barely reaching the halfway point at this at week 4 now. Trancel, he's number 1. He was consistently number 1 last season. He's proven himself to be number 1 again this season, and there's a reason for that. Great player, strong team, knows his Pokemon, knows his mechanics. I can't wait to see him lose. Honestly,
we've done the necessary bug fixes. Like, there's no Zeraora anymore, so we've done the bug fixes. Now we just got to do the full patch nerfs, full League of Legends style.
He is literally like the John Cena of the GPL right now, where he just doesn't know how to lose. He always kicks out at 2 or 3. You know, like, either way though, John Cena eventually lost a few games, a few matches. So, Trancel, your time's gonna be coming. But we can still see you, John Cena. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that one.
Yeah, and that, of course, brings us to the end of the Power Rankings, of course. Thank you, of course, Denny, for joining me, as always.
Yeah, you're welcome. And everybody stay safe. You know, this whole virus thing going around.
Yeah, exactly. We've already got one person caught with it. Let's not have too many more, please. Thank you.
Don't do anything stupid. Just be safe, people, okay?
Yep, alright, we are gonna get on out of here, so thank you so much for watching. My name is Rabombi Teacher, that is Dinistrio.
Toodle pip, people.
Make sure to take care, make sure to stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.